Museums are meant to feel untouchable, stone fortresses where history sleeps behind glass, alarms, and silent guards. They promise permanence, control, and the comforting illusion that the past is finally safe. But history has a habit of slipping through unlocked doors. Time and again, the world's most protected cultural vaults have been defeated not by violence, but by routine, trust, and a single moment of human error. When art disappears, it doesn't just vanish from walls, it rewrites how we understand value, security, and loss. From the vanishing of the Mona Lisa in 1911 to Boston's greatest unsolved art heist in 1990 and the billion-euro jewel theft in Dresden in 2019, these crimes expose one unsettling truth: even humanity's greatest treasures are never truly secure. The Mona Lisa theft, 1911. In August 1911, the Louvre Museum was already one of Europe's great cultural landmarks, but its security was minimal by modern standards, relying more on tradition than protection. On a quiet Monday morning, staff noticed an empty space on the wall where Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa had once hung, initially assuming it had been removed for maintenance or photography. Hours later, panic spread when it became clear the painting was gone. The thief was Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian handyman who had previously worked at the museum and knew its routines intimately. Disguised in a museum worker's smock, he removed the painting from its frame, concealed it under his coat, and simply walked out through an unguarded exit. There were no alarms, no locked doors, and no immediate pursuit. Peruggia believed he was returning the artwork to Italy, convinced it had been stolen by Napoleon, a claim that was historically incorrect but emotionally powerful to him. For more than 2 years, the Mona Lisa remained hidden in his Paris apartment, stored unceremoniously in a trunk, while the world obsessed over its disappearance. Ironically, the theft transformed the painting from a respected Renaissance portrait into a global icon, with newspapers, postcards, and crowds fixating on the empty wall where it once hung. When Peruggia attempted to sell the painting in Florence in 1913, he was arrested, and the artwork was eventually returned to France, forever changed in cultural status by the act of being stolen. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum Heist, 1990. On March 18, 1990, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum became the site of what is widely considered the greatest art theft in modern history, not because of violence or speed, but because of its chilling calm and enduring mystery. In the early hours of the morning, 2 men dressed as police officers rang the museum's service entrance, claiming they were responding to a disturbance. Despite standard protocol, the guards allowed them inside. Within minutes, the guards were handcuffed and restrained in the basement, leaving the thieves alone in the galleries for more than an hour. During that time, they selectively removed 13 artworks, including masterpieces by Rembrandt, Johannes Vermeer, and Edgar Degas, while inexplicably ignoring other equally valuable works nearby. The thieves cut canvases from their frames with little concern for preservation, suggesting that resale rather than appreciation was the motive, and escaped without triggering alarms or leaving clear forensic evidence. The total estimated value of the stolen works exceeded $500 million. Yet more than 3 decades later, none have been recovered. The museum, honoring the will of its founder Isabella Stewart Gardner, still displays the empty frames in their original positions, turning absence into a permanent exhibition of loss. Despite extensive FBI investigations, informants, and theories involving organized crime, the case remains unsolved, making the Gardner heist not only the most valuable art robbery in history, but also one of the most haunting. The Green Vault Robbery, Dresden, 2019. In November 2019, the belief that modern technology had finally made museum robberies obsolete was shattered by a daring and highly calculated break-in at the Green Vault, one of Europe's most secure and valuable treasure collections. Housed within Dresden's royal palace, the Green Vault contained priceless 18th-century jewels once belonging to Saxon royalty, protected by reinforced glass, motion sensors, and layered alarm systems that symbolized modern confidence in technology. In the early hours before dawn, the thieves sabotaged a nearby electrical junction box, plunging surrounding streetlights into darkness and disabling critical parts of the alarm network before smashing a window to gain entry. Inside, they moved with ruthless efficiency, shattering display cases and seizing multiple sets of diamond-encrusted jewelry valued at over 1 billion euros, completing the robbery in just minutes and vanishing before authorities could react. Unlike earlier art heists driven by ideology, symbolism, or personal obsession, this theft was coldly tactical, pointing toward organized criminal networks operating with military-level planning rather than romantic lone thieves. German authorities later arrested members of a Berlin-based crime family and secured convictions, yet much of the stolen treasure remains missing, swallowed by black markets that rarely give history a second chance. Experts fear that some pieces were dismantled almost immediately, their gems stripped and sold individually, destroying not just monetary value, but centuries of artistic craftsmanship and royal legacy. The speed, precision, and audacity of the operation sent shockwaves through the museum world, forcing institutions to confront how fragile even the most advanced defenses truly are. In the end, the Green Vault robbery proved that technology alone cannot protect history when infrastructure, timing, and human foresight fail at the same moment. Why these robberies changed museums forever. Although separated by more than a century, these three robberies reveal a shared weakness that transcends technology. Museums depend on human systems, and human systems can fail. The Mona Lisa theft exploited trust and routine, the Gardner heist relied on deception and authority, and the Green Vault robbery exposed how external infrastructure can undermine internal security. Each incident forced museums worldwide to rethink how they protect cultural heritage, leading to layered security systems, stricter protocols, psychological training for staff, and constant surveillance. But beyond cameras and alarms, these crimes changed the mindset of museums themselves, shifting security from passive guardianship to constant anticipation of threat. They exposed how familiarity breeds complacency, how authority can be mimicked, and how speed can overpower even advanced defenses. Most importantly, they reminded institutions that art is targeted precisely because it is priceless and irreplaceable. These robberies endure in public memory not only because of what was stolen, but because of what they revealed, how fragile humanity's connection to its own history can be when vigilance fades, and how easily centuries of culture can be undone in a single unguarded moment. When art disappears, so does certainty. When art disappears, something more than material value is lost. Paintings, jewels, and artifacts are physical links to shared human history, and their theft creates a permanent gap in cultural memory, an absence that cannot be fully restored, even if the object is recovered. Each stolen masterpiece leaves behind unanswered questions about ownership, responsibility, and how easily centuries of human effort can be undone in a single night. The stories of the Mona Lisa, the Gardner Museum, and the Green Vault remind us that civilization's greatest treasures are not immune to human ambition, error, or greed. They are vulnerable, precisely because they are desired. Museums may evolve, security may improve, and technology may grow more sophisticated. But the tension between preservation and vulnerability will always remain. That tension keeps us watching, speculating, and retelling these stories long after the alarms stop ringing. These crimes fascinate us because they blur the line between myth and reality, turning thieves into legends and empty frames into symbols. They force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. History is not only written by those who create it, but sometimes by those who manage to steal it. In those moments, art does not simply disappear. It escapes, leaving behind silence, mystery, and a lingering sense of uncertainty that refuses to fade. If these stories pulled you into the shadows where history nearly vanished, there are many more waiting to be uncovered. Art crimes aren't just thefts, they're mysteries that reshape how we see power, loss, and human error. If you want to be smarter every day, like and subscribe, and stay with us as we uncover moments when history almost disappeared forever.